It's about that time, baby. Oh, yeah. Here we go. Here we go.
The Sinclair Show is on.
It is on.
Run it to your friends. Come on. So it's a moment of the show tonight. Mailbag is tight. Sinclair is on the mic.
Once again, it's on. You're still troubled in your home. Got you tripping, don't know right from wrong. Send your letters to the show so we can talk you through. Get the answers to your questions because we speak that truth. Sometimes you doubt yourself, lost your health. Faith is on the fence, but you believe that Jesus knows your wealth. Keep it moving, spirit flowing, because we're here to provide someone to lean on when you're falling. Wednesday, 8 and 9, and it's on. Once again, it's on. You're listening to the only morning show when people at night. That's right. It is the Sinclair Show coming to you live and direct. Man, let me tell y'all, first and foremost, I want to thank all of you all who continue to send your mailbag questions, comments, the whole 9 yards to sinclairtalk@outlook.com. I'm going to continue to address as many as possible each night we're on the air to reach you all, because y'all the valued listeners. And what does that mean? That means if it wasn't for you, I wouldn't even be up here right now. I'd be somewhere getting me some rest, resting my tired mind, if you will. But because of the way we get down, that means I got to get up here and do this show, tired and all. Y'all ever had one of them days where you tired, frustrated, it just all of it is one of them days. But we still ended to win it, and I am thankful for all of you. So we're going to talk about a few things tonight. And hopefully you all will have some answers for me, and I have a few answers for you. But before we jump in the deep end of the pool, if you will, let me tell y'all something. Life be lifing sometimes, okay? And sometimes, like, I just check out stuff that's going on because I like to be in the know, I guess. And when I sit back and I look at some of the things that are transpiring in our world today, you know, it's amazing to me. I'm looking at how many activities of importance, if you will, that's going on. All right. I got I'm just looking at that. Your boy Trump is in the news every day, getting himself twizzled up and wrestled up in all kind of foolishness every day. You got a new conflict that's starting off between Pakistan and India. You got them on the path to selecting a new pope, and we don't know how that's gonna go. But so y'all just keep in mind when you look at that Gwendolyn Lady Elegance Pritchard from Rocket City, Alabama is in the house today. Everybody say hello to Lady Elegance. And so I'm bringing up these things because I want you guys to remember, in the space when you are considering your own levels of discord, if you will, just remember that there are those who are out here who have it far worse than you. Okay. And what does that mean exactly? That means sometimes you got to look at a picture and understand that when you believe that others may not understand or may not be on the same page as you, Ty Matthews, what's going on? Glad to see you. Keep in mind that people go through things every day. And just because they don't let you know what they're going through, just because they don't sit up and publicize it, just because they don't respond the way you think they do, sometimes people who you think are at the top of their game may be lifing just like yours. So just keep that in mind, if you will. And we're going to talk about today's topic. And today's topic, if you got the little notification earlier, was why do people trust others more than their partners? Okay. Let me rephrase that. This is talking about, because, and I'm going to tell you, let me be transparent how it came about. So there was a conversation going on whereby one gentleman said to another gentleman that, man, it doesn't matter what I say. And he was talking about to his significant other. And he said, if I say it, then she don't believe it. She got a problem with it. She rejects it. But if another dude, her family, her friends, or anybody else say it to her, the exact same perspective, oh, she will rock with that without hesitation. And so as we were going through the conversation, I posed the question to the group, why do you think that is? To my surprise, we had women that said the same thing, that they are in relationships whereby if they give an answer or a statement, that no matter what it is, it gets some kind of pushback. But if another female or some other person in the sphere of their acquaintances say the same thing, that all of a sudden it's taken with a grain of salt. And so that became what we're going to talk about tonight. And I want to give each of you an opportunity to state whatever your perspective is on it, because it is of importance. So think about this. And we're going to unpack this, if you will. So let me begin by asking the blatant question. Why is it that people are more comfortable taking advice or believing outsiders more than their own partner and or spouse? And first and foremost, have any of you out there experienced the same thing? Now, if some of y'all in some pressure situations and you don't want to answer, blink twice and we'll know that means you under duress and you don't have to respond. But for those of you who are not in a challenging environment in your homes, then go ahead and reply and let me know if you are or have been in situations where your significant other, spouse or otherwise, seems to take the opinions, judgments, or others before they take yours. Okay? Anybody? Lady Elegance, you got any comments on that? And I want y'all to understand the significance of this, because it's not just as whether someone feels that way, is how does it impact you? Let me give y'all a scenario. Okay. You tell your partner something, maybe it's advice about their health, their career, or warning about someone's intentions, and they dismiss it. Yeah, all right. They brush it off, whatever. But later, a friend, a coworker, they hear it on a podcast such as this one, the exact same thing that you said to them, and suddenly they give it value. This dynamic shows up in marriages, long-term relationships, close friendships. But why does it happen? Let me see what Taya said. Taya said, you trying to get people in hot water. No, Taya, I'm really not. I want to know because I found it unusual, yet not surprising, that in a circle of no more than 5 people, that everybody, regardless of gender, said they had experienced it. So the question is, why do you all believe, or if you're that type of person, is there a reason why, if you are, you're so quick to take somebody else's view and perspective of the same manner when somebody else other than your partner or spouse or significant other tells you? Why is that so easy to do? Anyone? And I want you to think of it from the perspective of if you are that type of person. Okay? Sometimes there are things that we look at. The psychology behind this type of behavior is known as, or one aspect of it anyway, is familiarity bias. What does that mean, Sinclair? Well, psychologists call it familiarity breeds contempt. The closer someone is to you, the more likely you are to take their advice less seriously. What y'all think about that? James Key, what's going on? Think about it now. Psychology says, or psychologists suggest, that the reason why some of you, Detective Pamela Black, glad to see you. Psychologists are saying that the reason why some of you are experiencing being in relationships where if you provide an answer or a solution, your partner or significant other or friend or otherwise doesn't necessarily take your perspective, but if you let somebody else in them streets say it, if you let a family member or somebody, one of their homegirls or homeboys say it, then they take it like gospel. And so the question is, or one of the questions is, why is it that people are so willing to take somebody else's word for it and put stock and value in it, but they don't do that for the very person that they in a relationship with of some sort? Well, again, psychologists call it familiarity breeds contempt. The closer someone is to you, the more likely you are to take their advice less seriously because you see their flaws, habits, and inconsistencies. We don't want to view our spouses or partners as experts. We view them as humans we live with. So when they give advice, it can feel personal, not professional. How many of y'all agree with what the psychologists say? Is that part of the reason that because, let me give y'all an example. Let's say that, let's use James since he's on the show. Let's say James has a wide breadth of experience because of his life's travels. Let's say that, oh my goodness, there's y'all homegirl, Nikki Carter, the arch nemesis. But let's say that because James has a wide breadth of experience, he's traveled, maybe because of prior careers or just life situations in general. And let's say that a question comes up within his household or his circle of acquaintances, and because James has experienced it before, he quickly rattles off an answer. Now, we don't know what the answer might be, but let's say whatever it is, why is it that the person and or people who James might be in a relationship with, they have to scrutinize his answer? But if Joe Snuffy from the job says the same thing that James said, then all of a sudden it's given some validity and strength. Well, psychologists say that when you are around a person, no matter even if they're the subject matter expert, you don't want to take their advice because you see some of the other stuff they do. Ty says she's agreed. She said they may feel like someone else has no personal investment or bias. Jay Dizzle, what it do? Now, well, Ty, let me ask this question. And I'm not judging, but do you not find it strange that someone who you know in passing, or you know from a work relationship or otherwise, you don't know about them personally, so you're going to give them more credit than James would get for saying the very same thing because you in a relationship with him. That's a little, I think we have to look at this from a perspective of who's more likely to do it. Now, I don't see any of my Anglo-Saxon friends speaking up, so I would like to know if white America gets the same treatment in their relationships or homes or otherwise. But I've talked to enough people and counseled enough people in black homes to know that it is easy to find situations where if your spouse says it, you're just not giving it. You look at them like you don't know what you're talking about. But it could be the maintenance dude. The janitor down the street can say the same thing, and you'll come home bragging about that Larry, the janitor, told you this very thing. Ty says, I know it sounds crazy, but I have dealt with this. It's crazy to me. Well, so we know what psychologists say. They say familiarity bias is part of it. The other part, there is a thing called ego and defense mechanism. Hearing corrections or suggestions from your partner can trigger defensiveness. When it comes to someone else, your guard is lower. Now, let me say this. Think about what I just told you. Ego and defense mechanisms. Hearing corrections or suggestions from your partner can trigger defensiveness. I want to know, why are you with somebody that when they offer you suggestions or solutions, you get defensive and take it as correction? See, because here's what I've never been able to understand. And again, ladies, I encourage you all, including you, Nikki Carter, to voice whatever your experience is. James, Johnny, any of y'all males want to voice yours. But let me say this. And I've even said this. I said this to my own mama before. There is this thing that exists where it's almost like people want you to be wrong because it makes them feel more complete or makes them feel better. Why do I say that? Now, I know some people, all right? And I'm going to say this, and I know how it's going to sound. So I know some of you pitchfork people are going to get mad. First of all, let me give Nikki what she said. She said, because it depends on how they make their suggestion. All right. Nikki Carter, I'm not even disputing what you say. But here's the thing. Grown women swear up and down, and I'm only talking from the male perspective. That's why I'm giving everybody free reign to post up their thoughts, male or female, because I want to give you your time to shine. But from a male perspective, a male over 50 perspective, most grown women swear up and down they want a mature, grown, stable man who's got his life together, who is already past the foolishness. But most women can't deal with that type of man. I'm going to tell you why. Because if you're out looking for a man who is focused, driven, not out here on some foolishness, trying to navigate with some level of sensibility and financial stability, you're probably dealing with someone who has a lot of life experience and or a combination of life and educational experience. So if you go find a grown man who is on his grown man thing and you are in his life, that individual is likely that when there is a issue or something going on with you, is probably going to find or attempt to find solutions. If you got you somebody who has lived for any length of time, look at that. Nikki Carter said she's singing "Where Them Men At." Hey, they all over the place. But let me say this with a level of sincerity to you all. A grown man on his grown man thing who ain't out here in these streets already knows his value, so he doesn't have to sit around and go with the back and forths. If you got a problem, that dude is a solution for your problems. But you will go and say, oh, he thinks he knows everything. Well, it is a good chance that if he is over a certain age and about his business, the things that you're going to come in contact with in your life, he probably does. Why are you mad because a man that you said you wanted, who had his mind together, his spirit together, and all these, you mad because he got an answer, so you don't want to accept it because the suggestion from your partner triggers your defensiveness? Ty said, wouldn't the same thing apply to a grown woman? Absolutely, Ty. Understand, I'm asking women for their perspective as well. I can only give you the male perspective. I can only give you the perspective of a counselor. I'm saying to you, based on the statistical data that says ego and defense mechanisms, hearing a correction or a suggestion from your partner can trigger defensiveness. When it comes to someone else, you got your guard lower. The question is, Nikki Carter talking about exactly, but he don't point that out. Nikki Carter, I'm giving you all an opportunity to point it out. I don't want to speak for you. I want you to be able to say it. If your experience is the same as some men say, then say that. But I equally want you to answer the question, if you all are the types of women who, if your man make a suggestion, you get triggered somehow, but when it's coming from someone else, you got your, why is your guard up so high with your partner, but you drop your guard down with these Negroes in the street? Nikki said, I stand corrected. Nikki, I'm giving you all the time you need tonight to voice your opinion. But I want somebody, listen, ladies, don't sit back and not have anything to say when I'm opening up the floor to you all. The question remains, why is it that when you're dealing with your so-called partner, you are challenging and got something nefarious in your mind that makes you keep your guard up with them, but you get Joe Stray Negro in the street and you don't have a problem in the world dropping your guard down and accepting what he says? Ty says, I think sometimes women think that they are getting treated as less informed / intelligent because they are women. Well, Ty, I understand you saying that this is how they may feel. I don't think that the average dude views the average smart guy, intelligent guy with life experience probably does not view his significant other or partner as less informed and less intelligent. I believe what happens is, if you sit down and tell me your problems, you're, in my mind, you are asking me. Nikki says, sometimes your partner is judgmental when he says it. You know what, Nikki Carter? I can say that maybe it does feel that way. Let me make 2 points. Y'all can keep putting your perspectives. I'm going to read them out. Think about this. If I was your man, hypothetically speaking, I am a type A personality, educated, both balanced in my professional and spiritual life, and I am a fundamental leader in most sections that I find myself, professionally and otherwise. So if you come to me and you tell me that you have something going on that is bothering you, I'm automatically going to let me find a way to make that go away. And because I've got broad life experience, I may have heard it before, so I may have a solution on tap in my mind. Okay? Nikki said, plus the person on the street may explain in detail when your partner says it shorthanded way without explaining. Okay, so fellas, I got to give Nikki Carter credit on this. She said sometimes we're not detailed enough about it, so it seems like the answer came too fast, like you didn't put enough thought into it, so they don't trust it. I can relate to that. Might be true. Nikki Carter said, why couldn't you just listen? Well, Nikki Carter, glad you asked that question. First and foremost, real men who are leaders, when they hear a problem or concern, it is a natural instinct to solve or make it better. And you being a grown woman, at this stage in your life, you have probably been in relationships with enough different men that you should understand. Now, maybe you've never had one. I don't know the men that you've had or been in relationships with, let me say. But you, at a certain age, you ought to know what a real grown man does and how he responds. Don't tell a grown man that I need you to sit down, let's talk about the challenges of my day, and then expect him not to solve them, because the truth of the matter is, half of you all, if he did not attempt to find resolution, you would say he didn't give a damn. And I'm just being frank with you. And I think that the problem is that many times men are unable to satisfy the spectrum of your emotions, because we normally go one or two ways. We are all chips in. Let me make it better. Let me find a solution. And I don't want to take the long road home to get there. Or we just ain't doing nothing at all. And if we ain't doing nothing at all, then you're going to complain about that too. Let me give you a hypothetical. Let's say somebody is not necessarily in the best condition. Let's say they're going through something, right? And let's say in the course of them going through something, that a man doesn't, let's say he's not as available. Let's say he doesn't go over and visit. Let's say any of these things, right? Now, the average woman who is emotional may look at it and say, when I wasn't feeling well, you didn't come check on me, look at me, say anything, whatever. And those may be her factual perspective. Now, from the male's perspective, he may have looked at 5 things. He may have looked at how much he was working. He may have looked at the fact that if you're under the weather, there may be some outlying conditions that made him say, okay, let me respect your rest. Let me respect what XYZ. Let me not make you uncomfortable by putting you in a situation that you feel like you got to get up and entertain. It could be a host of things. I think that the factors matter. Ty said, I thought a lot of women are solution oriented as well. You don't know how many times I've tried to offer solutions to what I perceived as an issue and been told, can you just listen? Annie Moore, what's going on? Glad to see you. Well, Taya, again, I don't want to marginalize that. So that very well may have been the case. As a man, a lot of times if a man takes the time to even talk about what he's dealing with, because many times a man won't say anything because he doesn't want to put on your shoulders, especially if he already knows that you're dealing with something. A real man is not going to stack the weight that's on his shoulders on yours. So sometimes, a lot of times, we keep it to ourselves. You know what? I can handle it. It's all good. And even for that, you all find flaws. So the question about why is it that women and men, as we're finding out from some of our valued listeners, will take the word of somebody outside of the relationship and give it a higher level of consideration and value than they do the person that they are in the relationship with. We talked about what psychologists say. As a shepherd, glad to see ya. And I want you all to understand the dichotomy of what we're talking about. You got your guard up on the person who you say is your friend, your partner, your spouse, the one you're in a relationship with, but you let your guard down on the folks in the street. That don't make sense. Oh, we know some of y'all do it big. Some of y'all will give somebody else, anybody else, all of the consideration. Y'all will uplift whatever they say because you think that person is smart. But you don't see the smartness in the person that you with. Make it make sense. Ty said the only time I find flaws in, I don't know what she was trying to say, I can handle it statement is when it's said, but then not handled. Well, Taya, in fairness to that, while it may not be handled the way you would want it to be, for that man dealing with a lot of things, he may or may not have the ability to navigate it the way you think it should, but that doesn't mean it wasn't handled. The outcome may not have been what you wanted it to be. But does that lead us to an alternative perspective of why is it that many times in relationships, when a man makes a suggestion, I'll give you an even better one. Let's say you and your significant other, and I'm only speaking from the male perspective, but I will read any statement from any woman that gets posted tonight. Let's say that you and your significant other, male, you all decide y'all are going to a store or to get something to eat. He decides, oh, I'm going to drive. And when he gets ready to drive, as he's going, you know where he's going and he knows where he's going. And as he's driving, you say, hey, babe, this right here is a shortcut. It's easier and shorter to get to where we're going if you turn right here. And he keeps straight. He's driving the way he intended to go. And you become emotional because he didn't turn down the road you wanted. If you're still going to get there, why is it so important that you monopolize the travel plans? Sade, glad to see you. She said, trust is foundational in any relationship. If trust has been broken in the past through lies, cheating, or secrecy, the person may find it hard to take their partner's word at face value. Even small inconsistencies can raise suspicion when trust is already shaky. Ty said, oh, I'm not talking about a way. I'm saying when it isn't handled. I meant exactly what I said. Okay. Ty said facts. All right. So let me say this to you. First, let me address when Sade Britt said. Let me run this to you. If you're in a relationship where lies, cheating, secrecy, and have boiled over into your mindset, the moment that you are not, if you can't forgive that person, why you still with that person? Because if just because a person, and let me say this in fairness, just because a person may not have been honest all the time, you may have caught that person cheating, they may be secretive about something, you decided you were going to stay with them, so you're going to say everything this person tells me, even if it's accurate, I ain't going to trust it, but I'll go let my cousin Junebug down the street tell me the same thing. And then you got the audacity to go back to your man and say, you know what, Junebug said the same thing you said. And you wonder why he may feel that way. What if, and I'm asking this to all the ladies, what if your significant other, your partner, if you will, what if you've been secretive? What if you've been sneaky? What if there's been something about your attitude or demeanor that has broken his trust, right? And what if every time you tell him something, he goes to the female down the street and asks her, and if she says the same thing, he comes back and gives her props? How would you feel? Ty said, forgiveness and reconciliation, restoration are not the same thing, to be clear. Ty, I never said it was, but let me tell you what is clear, Taya Matthews. If you're not going to forgive a person and you are going to use that for the rest of your life or that person's life to hold over their head, and you ain't going to listen to them and you're going to second guess them all the time, what did you stay for? It must have been some other benefit to you to stay, because if I don't trust you, if I think you shady, why am I still with you? See, ladies, I'm not knocking what you saying, but what you saying, the math ain't mathing. Why you still with a dude that you don't trust? Why you still with a dude that you say lies and cheats and does stuff with secrecy? Why you still with him? I wasn't even going down there, but since y'all brought it up, make it make sense. I don't care that you don't forgive. I don't care that you don't reconcile. I don't care about your restoration. I'm asking the basic fundamental question. And now I'm asking it to Taya and Sade. I just want to know from y'all two if these are the things that you are using to say that's the reason why I don't trust your judgment. You can't be led by somebody you don't trust. Why you still with them? I'll wait. Because, see, I believe when you can no longer trust a person, you should be man enough or woman enough to go about your business, because that person could have very well changed. Now you got to have a bunch of arguments. He got to have, or she got to have some negative energy, because you're never going to be past what you ain't past already. So why you didn't just go about your business? What did you stick around for? To make their life miserable? I'll wait, but I hear crickets. See, men are taught to be solution focused. So when a partner offers emotional feedback, they might reject it as nagging or emotional overload. Let me say that again. Ladies, when you want to know why a man might do it, men are taught to be solution focused. So when their partner offers emotional feedback, they might reject it as nagging. Ladies, let me ask a question tonight. Ty said, I can't answer why people make the decisions they make. Okay, well, I'm just saying. James said he know the answer. He said most of y'all stay because misery loves company. Well, James trying to hit home runs on y'all tonight. But let me say this. Ladies, men are not by nature emotional creatures. And because we are not by nature emotional creatures, if everything you bring out of your mouth has an emotional attachment to it, he can't give it the same level of significance or value, because most men believe in critical situations, your emotions will make you make the wrong decision, especially if this gentleman has served in his country or otherwise. Ty said, you're making this super intense. Sometimes we trust people to be exactly who they are. Sade say, even when trust is damaged, the emotional bond can still be strong. Love, shared history, and hope for change keep people tied to the relationship. Well, maybe it does, Sade, but let me ask the question. If you say, even when the trust is damaged, the emotional bond can still be strong, love, shared history, and hope. If you got love, shared history, and hope, but you still don't trust his judgment to lead you, why you still with him? Ty said, just because you don't trust someone doesn't mean you have to make their life miserable. Right. So if you don't trust him, you don't trust his decision making, you don't trust him to lead you, why don't you go about your business? Because you're making his life miserable and yours. Nikki Carter said, well, maybe don't say anything at all. Okay. Y'all hold on one second. This is my son. What's up, big dog? Hey, man, I'm on a show right now, man. I'm talking to you live while everybody listening. All right, then, cool. Love you, man. So I want y'all to understand this. I'm not judging you. I'm asking the questions to the things that you all have said. If you say the reason why I value somebody else's solutions greater than the person I'm in a relationship with is because this person may have violated the relationship. They've been being sneaky, secretive. They done cheated. They done did all these, but you still with them. I'm just asking, what are you staying for? Taya said one thing, Sade talking about hope and prayers that the person might act better one day. Sade said, what about the other qualities? Sade, I don't care about the other qualities. How can you choose to be in a relationship with someone that you said has cheated, is sneaky, they got secrecy, you don't trust their judgment, you don't trust their solutions? Why you still with them? Talking about what other qualities do they have that are non-physical that make you say, oh, I'm going to stay? What James said? James said, if you don't trust them, why let them make your life miserable? Say it again, James. Nikki Carter said, tell them to call back. Hey, first of all, hold on. Let me go back to this. Nikki Carter, if my son called me and I'm in a board meeting, I'm going to answer that call. Don't you never tell my son he got to get out the phone. You lost your mind. All right. Johnny said, what's up, nephew? How it been? He said he going to tap in here in a second. Nikki Carter said, it's a wrap if I don't trust you. And Nikki Carter, you and I are almost always at odds with each other. But you know what? If I could, I'd give you a fist pound right there into the screen. You know why? Because that's the smartest thing you said. If I don't trust you because you said I'm sneaky, if you said that I done cheated, if you say that I lie all the time, what in the Sam Blazing Hills am I going to do or say, whether it's 10 years from now, to make you feel any different? And if you don't feel any different, why stay with me? Let me go somewhere else and get a fresh start with somebody where my word means something. Let me see what Annie Moore said. Let her give y'all a little wisdom. She said, my friend has told me more than once, if he can't trust me, he would not waste his time with me. Neither would I want to be with him if I can't trust him. Look here, y'all. That's grown woman conversation right there. Annie Moore ain't said not a thing about he might get better years from now. She ain't said nothing in the world about I hope he act like this. She said, if I can't trust him or if he can't trust me, we got to go and do something different. And again, all I'm saying is I'm not making this up. I'm going off of exactly the scenarios that's been given. Let me roll back because I want to be fair. I want to go back to this. Was started this portion. Sade said, if trust has been broken in the past through lies, cheating, secrecy, that's her phrase. If somebody, matter of fact, let me ask you a question. When is the last time you ever went back and trusted somebody that lied and cheated and was secretive? I'm just saying. All I'm doing is talking about it. All right. Let me see who did I miss out. Yeah, that right there. Johnny said, maybe some people feel that person is a safe resource and make their life softer. Jay Dizzle. Well, I don't know what you and James Key is on tonight, but them keyboards is on. Johnny said, some of y'all stand with somebody that you claim you can't trust, you claim is too secret, that you claim be lying. Y'all, some of y'all, not all, is sticking around because the person makes your life softer as a resource. You find safety in that. Ty said a lot of men think leadership means that the opinion solutions are less valuable, important, worthy of implementation, i.e. his solution is better. Subconscious competition with his partner. Well, let me ask this question, Ty, and I don't knock that because that could be true. But I want to ask the question, is sometimes, depending on the situation, is his solution the better solution? See, because I believe exactly what the statistics said, that some of y'all gonna fight or brush back against your partner just because it's them. You ain't even hearing whether or not it's a good solution. Nikki, I don't know what you're giving yourself a gold star for, but Sade talking about, oh Lord, I don't know. Hey, call on Jesus. I do. I rocks with him. And I'm trying to get y'all to process this. I'm not judging what's right or wrong in your life, but I am saying take gender out of it. If I don't care, male, female. Y'all. Beatrice Hayes in here. She said, I'm just going to stay single and by myself at this point. Girl, go on with them lies. Listen, let me tell y'all something. Some of y'all operate too emotionally anyway. Some of y'all think you being lied to and you ain't being lied to. You just didn't like the answer because it wasn't what you would have preferred. Matter of fact, part of the problem might be male and female. Some of y'all can't handle truth. Some of y'all so suspicious of your spouse, be it male or female. Some of y'all so suspicious that everything sounds like a lie. I'm just saying. Ty said a lot of times men think leadership means. Okay, Ty, let me say this to you. When you say your solution is better, is it that your solution is better and what makes it better, or is it just different? And it doesn't matter if it's male or female. I'm just saying, let me see what Jay Dizzle said. Jay Dizzle said, some people listen to respond and not resolve a situation, no matter what it is. Absolutely. Okay, let me give y'all a scenario. As a counselor, I deal with relationship counseling, family counseling, almost everything you can think of. I have been in counseling sessions with men, women, couples, and in the counseling aspect of it, I have heard, now I know I've heard men say it, but more often it does come from women, that, Lord, Sade talking about OMG, I ain't wrestling with you and Johnny tonight. More often than not, women will say that they can't forgive a situation. Let me begin by saying this. If you are holding against a person who may have had a shortfall at some point. And here it is, 1 year, 2 year, 3 year, 5 years, 10 years later, you still saying, I ain't gonna deal with you, I ain't gonna sleep with you, we're gonna be in this relationship, but X, Y. Why not leave? Because now you're trying to force that person to cheat on you. Nikki Carter said, problem is you might give me a suggestion, but I don't want to go that route. Now, Nikki Carter, girl, for some reason, you smart tonight. Okay? I don't know why, because most of the time you ain't this smart, but you smart tonight. Nikki Carter, this statement right here is the best, smartest thing you have said in probably 8 months on this show. Nikki Carter said, problem is you might give me a suggestion, but I don't want to go that route. Nikki Carter, that's okay. And you should be able to reject going that route. The problem is if your significant other gives you that suggestion and you don't want to go that route, then how is it when the Negro on your job, at the grocery store, at the gym that you going to pretending like you lifting weights, why when that dude tell it to you, all of a sudden you don't mind going that route? Because the conversation tonight is not about whether or not you take every solution that's offered. I don't think anybody should have to do that. I think if you bring your problems to me, you owe me enough respect to listen to what I'm saying because you brought it to me. You are not required to take the solution that I offered. But let me tell you what you ain't required to do either. And fellas, I know this gonna get me in trouble, so I'm gonna need some support. Ladies, if you bring your problem to me and I identify a solution, and it is your God-given right not to use the solution that I come up with, you may choose to go through the solution of your own. What you also don't get is, if you're not going to take my solution, then don't take my resources for that solution. That's probably too deep for some of y'all. See, because I got a problem if you say you can't trust my judgment, but you can trust my bank account. That's a problem for me. You worried about the fact that somebody done cheated on you before, somebody was too secretive, somebody was telling too many lies. Well, if you don't trust my opinion and my judgment, then don't trust my resource. That's all Johnny was saying. Am I right, Johnny? Nigga said because they provide more guidance. That's look here. Xavier, what's going on? Sade said, how you say something can matter more than what you say. A calm, respectful tone invites open conversation, while a harsh or sarcastic tone can make someone defensive, even if your message is valid. You know what, Sade? I can agree with that. I can agree with that. The tone makes all the difference. But let me say this to you, Sade. And again, y'all have heard me give her credit. I don't know what's up with Sade and Nikki Carter. They coming up with some good information tonight. But let me say this to both of them and to Ty. Here's the thing. When it boils down to it, if you're saying that tone matters and it is significant to whether or not you want to take the advice that I'm offering or the solution that I'm offering, then can you equally admit that it is not naive for a man to say if tone matters, that context matters? What I'm saying about that is, if everything you say to a man is emotional, he's not going to take your advice, because solution-minded people do not dangle the emotional thing, because he can't trust your judgment is based on facts or data. It's based on your emotion. Just like you're saying, I don't want to take your advice if you say it in a certain way. He doesn't want to listen to what you're talking about if everything you're talking about is your feelings or your emotions. Can I get a witness on that? Matter of fact, and it ain't even, Nikki Carter said, right, being a hater. I'm not being a hater. James said, facts. I just want y'all to understand something. Women, I agree that you all feel like, the key phrase, feel like, that the way a person say it, the tone that they deliver it is important. I agree. And I believe that men, we ought to consider our tonage more often. But ladies, if you want us to take what you say as advice and look at it a little bit, then I want you to start realizing. And can I get some of you seasoned women to offer to these younger ladies the understanding a grown man is not sitting around all day wrestling with you because everything you bring out your mouth is emotional or about feelings. When in the Sam Blazing Hills can anything get accomplished? How do I even know what to say to somebody if everything I say, instead of listening to it, you're listening to the tonage? You're listening to the emotion that came with it. Sometimes a man's voice may go up some octaves because he's had to say the same thing 20 times and you couldn't get it because you was in your feelings. Taya said, just because you're emotional doesn't mean that your solutions are not based. Taya, see, you emotional right now. I didn't say that just because you were emotional that you couldn't have had facts. I said it is not likely that a man who sees you emotional will take your solution, because if he's got to find a solution, he's not going to bank on the fact that you're level-headed and clear thinking if you're so emotional. Let me ask this question. When, ladies, is the last time that you had a serious conversation with your significant other, a male, your partner, whatever you want to call it, that you didn't bring up your feelings or some sense of feelings in the conversation? And why is it that some of you, not all, why is it that some of you can't have a conversation without talking about the way you feel? Uh-oh. Ty said, remember that women are being direct in tone and speech. Remember that when women are being direct in tone. Look, first of all, if you're talking to me, let me be clear. I don't have a problem in the world. As a matter of fact, I operate better when people are just being direct and clear. I don't care nothing about all that emotional stuff. Now, I'm just saying that about me. I ain't putting that on James, Johnny, and nobody else. I can only tell you, if you want me to hear you, then don't come to me all the time talking about your feelings. Just tell me where you stand on something. I stand on this. And don't let everything you tell me be about your feelings. Let it be about some facts. Sinclair, I believe we should do this because of XYZ. Now you're sounding like you're only giving me facts. I can process that. But if you start your conversation off telling me, because I didn't make you feel a certain kind of way, is, oh, okay, let me go here. I got some more conversations. Ty said, I know you don't. Pat, show many men do. All right. And he said, my friend will tell me if my tone is a little hostile. We will wait until I calm down before we talk. Listen, I'm going to tell y'all something. I wish I could bottle up Annie Moore's answers and sell them to you all. Listen to what she said. She said, well, her and her significant other get to having conversations and her tone gets out of whack a little bit, that he will notify her and they wait to finish the conversation till she calm down. Nikki Carter said, we're not robots. That's why we talk and express our feelings. But if your whole life is about your feelings, ain't no human being, ain't no man can keep track of and match with your feelings, because feelings evolve. Johnny said, chilling and enjoying the show, nephew. Good topic. Ty says, I know you don't, but so many men do. Listen, ladies, I'm not knocking how you operate. I'm accepting that you all have said that. Johnny said, Xavier Tillman watching the show, the emotions show up on the show. See, Annie said, now listen, y'all, Annie is a grown woman. She got a grown man. She said when she get in her feelings and start talking a little slick, he don't even talk to her till she calm down. Listen, y'all, I'm telling y'all, I promise y'all on everything I love. When I get into a certain space and I feel like that the conversation is not going anywhere, you can ask anybody. I shut down. We're not having a conversation until we can have a conversation. Because of that reason, your feelings ain't gonna do nothing but incite the conversation. So they say women are often labeled as too emotional, even when their emotions are valid responses to real situations. Hold on, Sade. Nobody is saying that women should not have emotions. What I'm saying is your emotions shouldn't be the lead off to every time you want to have a conversation that's about something serious, because then that does mean you're too emotional. How do you ask a person who is solution oriented, who is a leader, that every time he or she wants to talk to you, they've got to go and prep themselves for the emotional roller coaster that they got to navigate through to only get to what you really want to talk about? Annie Moore done told y'all, hey, there's her words, not mine. She's saying when she start getting too emotional, her tone get a little slick, he just don't talk to her until she calmed down. And every other male on this show has said tonight, all they looking for is, matter of fact, let me say this, because it's past 9 o'clock. I could be up here. Last week we went over 30 minutes. Let me just say this to you all. And ladies, take this as food for thought. I, as a man, am trying to tell you all what maybe your own man won't tell you, is that your man wants to communicate with you, but he doesn't want to sit back and be penalized. He doesn't want to have a 2-hour conversation. 1 hour and 30 minutes of it is around you telling them about him not being sensitive enough to your emotions. If you need something, if you want to go walk in the John Blaine Park, say, hey, babe, I want to go walk in the park. Don't say, oh, you never asked me to walk in the park with you, because you could have brought it up. Well, I didn't ask because I didn't feel like. Stop it. Now, I'm trying to help y'all to grow your relationships. Start talking like grown folks and just tell a person what's on your mind without dragging your emotions through. Because we turn off, it's a button right back here in the back of most grown men's necks, and they click that button. When you see them do like this, that's not them putting their hand behind their head. That's them turning off the listening button, because we don't process all that. I'm mad because you made me feel. You make me feel this. You make me feel that. You know what? What about our feelings? So I said a lot of times when women are being direct, their tone is policed. They are not speaking nice or ladylike. Girl, please. All right, well, let me say this. I think a real dude, as long as you ain't cussing at him and calling him out his name, I think a real dude ain't got no problem with you, as long as there is some humanistic form where you're not name calling and you ain't yelling and screaming. I don't think a man should come up. Listen, I pride myself on this, because this is my fundamental belief. I believe if we are talking about something, I don't have a reason to call you out your name to tell you what I got to tell you. And I don't think you ought to be calling me out of mine. So I'm just trying to tell you all, if you want communication, learn how to communicate. When I went to Korea, I had to learn to speak Korean because I wanted to have dialogue with Korean people. If you want to have communication with your man, you might need to learn the language that he speaks. Vice versa. Men, if you want to learn how to communicate with your significant other, you need to learn to speak like she speaks, or you need to give her the translator. Google got a translator for if you talking to somebody in a foreign language. Maybe we need to create one so when a man speaks or a woman speaks, that the translator key will go ahead and put it in some terms and tones that the other person can hear. Because right now, all y'all are saying, and I'm saying y'all being male and females, is when we are attempting to have real dialogue, we can't, because you shut me off because of something that may have happened in the past, and I shut you off because I'm tired of hearing about your feelings, so we're never really communicating. I just want y'all to think about that. Till next week.
It's about that time, baby. Oh, yeah. Here we go. The Sinclair Show is on.
And it's on.
Run it to your friends. Come on.
Come on.
It's a moment of the show tonight. Mailbag is tight. Sinclair.